Hi guys, and welcome to another retro classic of Space Invaders. And what we have here is a simple game of shooting the aliens. Altogether there are 55 clones of aliens, and that puts them into 11 columns and 5 rows. As we get less aliens, they start to move faster. We also can lose a life, and also you will get aliens going across the top in red UFOs, and there's one nicely timed to which you get a surprise reward. And then finally, if your aliens touch the bottom, then it's game over. So you can't let the aliens touch the bottom. So you can either die by losing 3 lives, or your aliens hit the bottom and then you die. Quick game of retro Space Invaders for you. And guys, don't forget to comment below if there's any other games you'd like me to unpack or any code you'd like me to explain. Just remember, comment below and I'll get back to you. Right, let's go back to the code. So after last week's code, this week one is a little bit simpler. Not as much going on. We do have all those clones that I mentioned. We're used to that forever loop, but now we've actually got 3 of them going on. Can't put them all in one single loop because we need to have them happening at the same time. So we've got to have normal startup, which sets the game which we're all used to. Game running to 1 means it's going, setting our lives at 3. This is all on the Invader. That's where most of the code goes to today, is the Invader. They're the white spaceships that we're shooting. And you can also see here that it will keep running. Game is running 1 and aliens left is greater than 0. So we've got our formation step, which we can see the code for that just here. And guys, you might not realise it, but only 22% of you watching this video today have actually subscribed to my channel. So please like, comment, subscribe and switch that notifications bell on. And it's sort of saying, this is how I want to build those 11 columns and 5 rows, those 55 spaceships. And believe it or not, back in when it was on the Atari, they had to find a way of programming the 55 spaceships. Because generally you would think we'd give each spaceship an X and Y coordinate and a dead or alive coordinate. But each of those would take it up a byte each. So that meant you would have had 3 bytes per spaceship at 55 bytes each. So it would have been 165 bytes before even running the game. And Ataris only worked on 128 byte memory. So what they did mathematically, they put in the position of 1 using the XY and whether it was alive or not, and every other spaceship they worked out its position mathematically, so they didn't have to worry about the X and Y bytes. So in the end they just used the 55 dead or alive, which was a 1 or a 0, going back to that binary, which is the same that we have. When we come to look at whether our aliens are alive or dead, we use that 1-0 binary just like they had back then. But before we get to that, I just wanted to show you this edge hit flag bit. And this is if we hit the side, our aliens hit the side, and it's that bit that gets them to start coming back in the opposite direction. Hit edge, reverse direction, and drop 1 level. And also, the aliens get faster. As we shoot aliens, they get faster. And that was actually just a glitch in the program initially, but actually it added to the excitement. Getting lower is part of the program. Getting faster was just a glitch. We have the heartbeat here, which is that dun, 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 dun. And you see all the different sounds that are beating at that heartbeat to keep that rhythm going. You can see here, here's when I receive drop now, change the white by -18. So go down by 18. And then we've got here another loop going on here, which is spawn wave. So this is if we've killed all of the aliens. So this is our 3rd loop that happens. And it's set that if all the aliens are killed, then we get 1,000 bonus points. And we change the wave number by 1. So it would go up to wave 2. Also, the speed goes up of the wave and it starts lower. So each time it gets harder and harder to kill them. And this is the details of those waves being spawned. And we start with that new wave. Then we come down to about cloning. So if we look at our costumes, there's 2 types of squid, or the 2 positions of the squid, legs in, legs out. There's 2 for the craft, arms up, arms down, 2 for the octopus. So we actually only have 1 sprite and 6 costumes. Now what actually happens is with that 1 sprite, we code it that we're creating clones. And here it is when I start to clone, and it's saying about exactly how the clones must be formed. If the invader dies, then we get a sound for the invader dying. And the score changes and the player gets 10 points for killing them. And the point amounts increase the higher up the type of alien that you shoot. As you saw when the flying saucer went across, you got a random prize of between 50 and 250 points. And then we've got the Y position here. If an alien gets down to the cannon's row, it's instant game over. And that sends a message to our game over. And here we've got, when I receive, aliens reach ground, game over. And then we've got the whole reset there with the game over logo. And then if we look here about alien fire. So all 55 aliens hear this, but only the aliens on the bottom row actually fire. So what it does is it scans every row below it, and if it doesn't see anything below it, then it fires. If it does, then it doesn't fire. And we create a clone of the alien bullet. So what this game uses a lot of is clones. When I start to clone, each alien's snapshots its type into its own variable. Remember when we've used these before? These are all the different variables that this game is using in order to work. So that's something that we've gone really heavy on during this game. The number of variables and how they're all used. So for example, here you've got set high score. So this middle reading here is the high score. And that will persist the whole time your Scratch game is open. So if we look back at our UFO, these are the scores that it can have: 50, 100, 150, 200 and 300. Initially is hidden, and then we have it appears to the right at the start. So when our aliens are less than 50, so we have to have killed 5 aliens at least before the UFO will fly across. Sets its position right up the top of the screen there with X to minus 240, so that's coming in from one side going straight over to the other at X 240, and then Y is set at 150 at the top of the screen. It's got a costume once again, so if we click on here you'll see it can look like that or it can look like that. And we've also got how it gives the score. So change score item UFO hit index of UFO scores. And that means go to the list of UFO scores and choose one of those scores. And that's how many the player's going to get. So that's our UFO that's going across. And here, this is when a bullet is hit by a player's bullet. So a player can shoot one of the alien's bullets and both bullets are destroyed. We've got our tank, which is, it's got a couple of costumes where it's been destroyed and its normal shape. Then we have here our left and right movement arrows and our space bar to fire. And you can only have one active bullet at a time. Then we also have the bit about losing life. So when a message is sent that we lose a life, we've got the tank boom sound. So if we go into sounds here, tank boom. Okay, so that's a boom. And this is if we're shooting. So we hear the boom, we switch costume to our destroyed tank, our lives go down. And then our new tank, it comes back to the start point again. If we have no lives left, then of course it'll broadcast game over. And when game over is broadcasted, the sprite will hide. We have our lives, which are just our literally our spare tanks that go down the bottom here. There's this thing, when I receive game over, this tells what's happening. Game running changes to 0. It goes to the center of the screen. We get the game over sound, which is like we then stop all. That means the whole game stops, everything. If the aliens reach the ground, we mentioned this earlier about them getting down to the ground. This is the bit that triggers. Set game running to 0, end the game, sound the game over, stop everything. Our next sprite is the shield bunker. So if you see these form, you've hit. This is actually 34 little blocks. Each one of these bunkers that is formed here is literally 34 of these small squares. All the sprite is that 2x2 square. So if we look in code, when we're building up each one of them, you can see this process here happens, and we're adding the sprites together to get that shape. Each time we get a new spawn, it tells it what to do, and about resetting all of these bits, because as you remember, each round they're destroyed by the aliens, so at the start of each spawn wave or each wave they have to be re-established. Now what you can later on do to make the game a bit more interesting is you can here reduce the amount of bunkers that respawned. So for example, you could have 40% of your bunker respawned, 60%, or have it going down each level to make it harder because you've got less bunkers to hide behind. Then we come down to here, it's all we've got about cloning. So we do our 34 here, and then the other 3 are clones of that original one. Okay, we then have this when I start a clone part. So it's when we've got that clone, if either a player's bullet or an alien's bullet touches the clone, one of these little squares, then it breaks up, it gets destroyed. And that's what's going on here, and that's why it says delete this clone. And then here, this was just the colour banner for the red spaceship when you scored, when you put the points on it. And as you can see, we got just some costumes of the different points that you would get awarded. This is my simple game of Space Invaders. As I said, it went variable crazy, clone crazy, and a lot of sounds this week. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget, guys, to like and subscribe to the channel. And next episode, we have that all-time classic Donkey Kong. Gravity, jumping and ladders. One of my all-time favourites.